All right, guess we'll start. Text Leilani.
I did.
Yeah.
Good evening. And welcome to the Village of Mamaroneck. We're having a special work session to talk about the capital budget. Capital budget is different than the operating budget. The capital budget has to do with projects and stuff that's usually not caught up in the operating budget, but stuff that the village needs. We are a very old suburb. Our infrastructure is very old. And so thusly, we have a lot of catching up to do. A lot of years, things with the can was kicked down the road. And quite frankly, we're at the end of the road. So Jerry, I'd like you to start.
May I open the meeting, please?
Oh, I need a motion to open this meeting. I've just been told.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Jerry, please start.
Thanks, Mayor. So,
The mic closer.
before I started getting into the capital plan and the plan of the capital plan, I wanted to, of course, welcome all of our department heads. Some of them attend these meetings at times individually, but rarely do we get the entire collection of department. And so it's a good time for me to brag about some of the achievements that the department heads and the administration and our clerk treasurer have achieved in recent history. So obviously, the bond rating increase in a difficult climate, that was significant. We received multiple recognition awards. Recreation and Parks received one a couple of years ago. Clerk treasurer's office received one this year. We continue to add to fund balance, partly and not partly, but in large part because of the department heads and how focused they are on their budget and making sure that they only purchase what they need. And in fact, we continue to have a fund balance that's over the BOT policy of 30%. We are at 36% in our fund balance right now over the policy, 6% over the policy. I apologize. We're at 36%. We continue to increase services. Everyone knows we do a lot of community outreach in various ways. We tried working and initiating and implementing the food scrap program, and we've done a significant number of new tree plantings. We also continue to manage the tree law and all of the related aspects of the tree law, not just the permitting process, but also the increased communication with the tree committee. Public safety continues to be a model for other communities to follow. Our police department has initiated some new initiatives, and we continue to have, unlike the communities on each side of us, an all volunteer fire department, and that's extremely difficult and very admirable. We have a new emergency management team, which on I think Thursday, we're going to the county to tour their facility. And we've been told that it's a model for the municipalities in Westchester County. We continue to resolve the longstanding orders on consent, which in my opinion have just been ignored many years until we started to focus on that. And then one thing that may not contribute or may not be completely obvious to many, but we have focused on DEI in our village staffing. And we make our village staffing.
Could you explain DEI?
Yeah, so it's diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it's a focus that we've initiated to make sure that our staff properly represents the community and how we can interact with the community. So that's a significant importance. We know this plan has a lot of very large and complex projects. I mean, there's over 30 million for a village hall. That's at least 5 or 6 years away. 15 million for a new reservoir dam. 10 million for a multi-sport recreation center, which, and I'll go into it later on, is revenue generating. 8.5 million for sidewalk and drainage improvements on just 2 roads, Old Post Road and Mount Pleasant Mamaroneck Avenue. and 8.25 million for the seawall reconstruction. My point in these 5 areas is that things are expensive. It's cost a lot of money. And when you continue to defer them, expect to pay more later on down the line. Ideally, this plan is a 10-year plan. When you anticipate future grant funding and you take that out, it boils down to a $95 million plan, or about 9.5 million per year, because I anticipate this plan, in the way it's presented to you tonight, will take at least 10 years to execute. Each year,
When you just, to execute most of the items that are included.
correct.
Right.
And I'm not talking about purchasing vehicles or replacing vehicles. I'm talking about the larger, more complex project I mentioned before. Each year, the BOT and staff needs to meet annually, probably in December or January, to discuss and determine the priorities for each year.
Mhm.
In reality, when Dan responded earlier to some of the questions that the board members had, it really is not our priorities that we need to focus on. We need to focus on your priorities. We need to focus on aspects that you want to see as elected officials, leading the community. Everything on this plan is a priority for us. But what we're asking you to do is look at the plan and develop your own set of priorities, communicate that to us. That's the most important part of what we're trying to do tonight and going forward. Some of these projects will take a significant amount of time, but when you start pursuing grant funding, if you have a plan in place, and if you can demonstrate that you have a plan, that grant funding becomes much more right up here. Those are the people who come late.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
You can show the agencies that are providing this grant funding that you have been planning for something like this, that you have priorities, that you've had meetings, and then you can demonstrate that. It's the only responsible way for grant agencies to see that you're actually planning. This is a master document. Publish it at this work session, and we expect the Board of Trustees to consider it as a point of reference document. That is the current condition of the state of the village and the future needs of the village right now at this point. It has significant administrative authority. There's no doubt about that. But when we present this plan, we fully expect for all of these items to continue to come back to you month by month, year by year, so that we can approach you and say, we're ready for this item, we're ready for this project, we're ready for this initiative, and continue to have this discussion. It's not a one-time, one-shot.
And just to point out the specifics of each project, the particulars, the plan, the drawings will then all be worked out at that time.
Correct,
And then the actual funding will be voted on at that time.
correct.
So what we're voting on is conceptual.
Correct. You're voting on conceptual, but you're also voting on where we are as a village at this point of reference, right here at this moment, right now. We can demonstrate the deficiencies, we can demonstrate the future plans, and we can demonstrate the vision of this community by giving you a document like this. It's a giant document. We understand that. But the reality is we have to have this information for you, for future board members, and for future staff members, so that we can continue on a plan and be effective during that plan. This document, so it really just shows what we need to fix, what needs to be repaired, what needs to be built, and what needs to be purchased to continue our essential operation at the highest level of services. And I want to tell you, and you probably know, but we provide a higher level of services than the communities surrounding us. We do it from sanitation, we do it from code enforcement, we do it from a lot of different aspects. And all of those things I'm proud of, because those are operational aspects of what we do. But in order to continue that high level of service and the level of operations that we have, we need to have certain things that are in place to continue those efficiencies. One last point that I have is that we do things and provide facilities for our Village of Mamaroneck residents. But we also accommodate town, Larchmont, and Rye individuals, okay? some of that is fee generated and that's fine. We can bake in some of the cost of some of these items based on the fees that we expect. But there are many reasons why those communities have nothing close to what we have. We have the geographic features, right? We have the geographical features, we have the facilities, but we also have the administration to be able to advance any future improvements. So when we're looking at some of these funding aspects, we're looking at fee generating items, we're looking at items that continue to add to our efficiencies and items that really can't be overlooked or deferred any longer.
Jared, just let me ask you, when you talk about geographical facilities, are you focusing on Harbor Island Park and the harbor
And other parts,
and other parks?
and other parts, and other facilities, yep.
Yep.
Oh, okay, good, you come in, sit down.
Come on and sit down.
Just sit down, I thought you needed her.
No, no.
Okay. So. Earlier, the mayor provided some priorities that he's looking at. Trustee Lucas asked for us to answer some questions. We'll put those responses up on the back of this meeting, okay? But you have those responses now, and if you have any further questions, that's why we're here. The department heads who are here have worked for many years on these worksheets as well as their capital plan. It's a big number, but there's some big items in there that that include keeping this community viable and healthy, and the way our residents expect it to be for many, many years down the line. This is not a quick 5-year plan. I hate the fact that it's called a 5-year capital plan because it really is not. It's a plan going forward for our future. When we have some of these large item projects that are completed, we won't have to worry about the seawall anymore. We won't have to worry about kids potentially getting hit by cars on Old Post Road. We won't have to worry about the dam and the condition of the dam anymore. And the reality is, the biggest item on here is New Village Hall, and that's going to be a tough priority to get straightened out. But you'll have that New Village Hall for 50, 60, 70 years down the line. So when you're looking at the number, it really is for a significant long-term benefit to us. That's it.
You know what I'd like to do, if the board doesn't mind, is I'd like to go through each department head and just ask them, and I don't want to put you on the spot because I didn't tell you that this is coming. But if you had to pick one priority, the first most pressing priority for your department, you know, what would be?
Can I add, because I think that's a good thing, because there's more than at least 5 on each person's, at least the top 3. Oh, fine.
I'm all about company. The two.
Okay.
Who's up? Jeff, why don't we start with you? Jeff,
So the key for me would be the pilings, which kind of goes in hand with the marina redesign. If the pilings are important, if they have one of those buildings handing over to either the boat or a person or somebody on the dock.
I think a wood piling.
There's steel. If you look at this picture, I don't know if you can see the picture, but there's a hole in the back of the piling. But that's kind of the steel piling is so flat and through.
And this is from the chain riding up and down on?
Oh,
So they keep the docks in place, but when all the boats are on the docks, there's a lot of weight on those pilings, so when there's a windstorm or even a typical thunderstorm.
Yeah, it's that one, but it's.
That's the priority. I just would hate to, replace the pilings where they are now and redrive them in place.
Yeah.
If we do end up redesigning the marina, then that's gonna have to be done again.
Right.
So if there's a way to work that in where it's all done in one step, I think it's say.
Because once the piling is there, you're locked into a spot.
It's locked into a spot.
And steel or?
Let's see, real life is 20.
I would prefer to put wood if they can be driven into, into our bottom. It depends on what's down there. There are some instances where you can't use wood, if you can't get through the hard bands, because they're driven to refuse. So if the refusal is only 10 feet, that's not.
Are there situations where we'd have a hybrid, a mix of the two?
There is a possibility. Steel panels are only good for about 10, maybe 20 years, where wood filings are good for 75.
Really?
You don't get isn't there an animal that bores into the wood?
Sandworms, no, you don't get those here.
Uh-huh.
Wow, I'm impressed, man.
So that's $50,000 a year for 4 years. So in the larger scheme of things, you're making a pretty modest request.
Yeah, well, if we do the redesign, then they would all get replaced then at once.
Right.
So that's
But right now it's scheduled for like 4 years.
4 years. Yeah.
And so Jerry's talking about this being a 10-year plan, which is it's really, so I think it might, I'm not asking, I don't mean to ask for more work, but it might be helpful to extrapolate out. And now obviously in a spreadsheet that had 10-year plan, there would be new projects. Right, we would be thinking about new things we need to do starting in 5, 6, 7 years.
There are normal replacement items. There are normal replacement items such as equipment that ages out.
Right.
You have to continue on.
And
That's true.
that you kind of have. You know what that is.
We do.
I mean, you have a schedule for that,
We do.
but we don't have a schedule for the other things. Might be useful to have, because, it might be useful to have the next 5 years for the things that are on this that would extend over 5 years, because I think one of the things that concerns me, and I know I asked the question and Augie's working on it, is that we have a huge bonding capability, but we have to pay the interest on the bonds out of our operating budget, which means taxes would go up. Or there has to be a way of, it's great that our bond rate is lower, but we're still going to have to figure out how to pay for all of this. We can do it. It's just.
So I can provide to the board items on this plan that I expect to go out 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. I can do that. Yeah.
And because sometimes we don't bond until the project's completed. Now, we could not do that with Village Hall.
No, because you don't have the cash.
Right.
You have a lot of cash, but you don't have that kind of cash.
Right.
But as far as the item that Jeff is talking about, those are items that we have to do right away. I think that's what you're asking.
I
I want to do right away.
I don't want to mislead anybody here. My reason in asking this question is both to give the Board of Trustees a sense of what the most pressing needs are, not that they'll be done in that order, but also to give the public a view of some of the challenges we face as an old community with aging infrastructure, and and because we have to have honest and open dialogue with our constituents, and there might come a time, as Nora pointed out, this has to be paid for, right? There might come a time where we have to say to our constituents, this stuff has to be done. And if either you want a 21st century village, or you want to keep working in the 19th and 20th century facilities that we now use. So I think it's important, well, to educate the public and to educate all of us on the board, that we at least have an overview of what you folks think is ready to fail.
Also,
yeah,
something
sorry,
else, no. Also to note that when I was reading through this, a lot of our stuff is just expiring. It just so happens to be expiring right now. So it's time.
Some is past the student.
Yeah, true, very much true. And I was very surprised to see how long some of these projects last, or the vehicles are, because you guys updated it yourselves. Just luckily we were able to do so, but a lot of it, we just have to.
What helps us regarding the vehicles is the fact that
We have it.
we're not a very large geographic area, we're small, but so we have vehicles that are worn out, that have very few miles. If you look at the miles, you think that's not, but James Barney has a calculation on hours, some of the equipment that we have, where the use is calculated by hours, converted to miles, and it's a ridiculous amount of miles, 500,000 miles on some pieces of equipment, if you convert the hours to miles, so. We do get a lot out of them. Second one.
It's the replacement motor for the harbor master boat. Would be the replacement motor for the harbor master boat, because that's a boat that we do use in emergencies and stuff like that. That motor, that's on that. So it's really important.
That's a 29,000.
And that's also, it takes a year to get it, so if we order it now, I wouldn't have it until next month.
So that's why it's in for the second year of the budget. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Barney, please use the, just for those who are, they have the handout, yeah. So is it working?
Yeah.
Okay. For those watching at home, Mr. Barney is now the superintendent of the DPW. He recently, he'd been filling in for a long time, and he recently got promoted to the job, and we congratulate you. And please keep up the good work.
So my highest priority would be the transfer station business. Our infrastructure and
So we could label it
for
first.
the
Okay.
compactor that all of our picked up waste or recycling goes through, has to be protected by you. It was taken down very preemptively about 6 years ago, and it was never restored. So the highest priority, if we don't get a roof on top of that equipment in the next year or two, we're looking at replacing another $60,000-$70,000 piece of equipment.
Compactor.
And with the roof being gone, not only is the compactor exposed, but there's 3 pieces of equipment that were normally covered that were kept there all night, and they're now out in the elements all year long. So the wear and tear that it's causing not having that roof is one of our biggest priorities right now.
And having the roof will also make it safer for our workers, I assume, wouldn't it?
Safer, it'll keep everyone out of the elements, it'll keep the area where they're walking on from icing. It definitely will keep it safe.
And Mayor, Gino can provide a quick update on that when he gets, when his turn comes up on the roof and where we are with that.
Second, James.
As far as the second goes, the remainder of my capital or DPW's capital is fleet replacement. All the vehicles on here within a year of the year that's listed will have met its usefulness and life expectancy. So I can't pick one particular vehicle that needs to be replaced over the others, but sanitation vehicles are obviously a priority. They're driving around most of the day, every day, sometimes twice in their route. So that sanitation vehicle is definitely a priority. And our plow trucks. But there's no way to differentiate which one's more important.
You'd have to do that when the time comes, right? Okay, thank you.
In fact, Mayor, if I could, it's really a group of vehicles, the ones listed under the 23, 24 heading. If we total up those vehicles, we're at 300, 385, about 600,000 in vehicles under the 23-24 budget year, upcoming budget year.
Thank you. Next up is Chief Costa. And Chief, before you start, I just want to point out that Chief Siemens is here, Tommy, and to your right, the gentleman who just spoke, Mr. Barney, is also a chief in the fire department. So please.
So my priority,
Use that, hold the mic, they won't hear.
the priority for me, is basically the entire document that I sent you. Unfortunately,
Okay.
because I need them all.
If you had to choose two,
They have to be,
because you do.
they have to be vehicles. And actually, it's kind of hard because firefighter safety is a priority. So it's all a priority for me. So however you guys want to handle
I understand
that, it's
that.
up to you guys.
I understand it. All right. All right, so it's vehicles and safety.
So Mayor, we should that fire department does have some information from the manufacturers of these vehicles and how long it takes to get them. So again, if you could talk a little bit about.
What's the
that.
lead time?
Get a lead time.
About 700 days.
It's over 2 years.
It could be more, 800, they're talking depending on the, supply.
Wow.
Is it just the supply chain that from COVID, or is it?
It's all backed up because of COVID, And everybody, departments couldn't order the equipment during COVID, so now everybody's ordering equipment, everything is a demand.
Right, and so a department like New York City, which probably orders 50 trucks, they go first.
Yes. Exactly.
So items that we end up bringing to the board from the fire department regarding vehicles are items that will take delivery in a couple of years, 700+ days. So when we're ordering vehicles, we have to include those numbers in future budgets, not necessarily when we're actually ordering that vehicle.
Chief, is it safe to say then those 4 items, roughly a little over $2 million in the first year, that would be the urgent stuff, or?
So right now, we're in the process of purchasing engine 41, which is about $1.5 million. That's a priority. The next major priority is replacing the ladder truck, which is 1.9. And that could change also, just going on. I mean, the apparatus we just purchased, engine 40, last year was 879. Now the new apparatus is $400,000 or $500,000 more.
Wow.
Wow.
When we order it, is the price locked in?
As soon as we sign the contract, it is locked in.
We don't have to pay for it till it comes.
Right.
Well, that's
Reassuring.
something.
Yeah.
That's something, I agree, Norm, that's something, but
So
41
you want to lock it in.
Yeah.
As soon as possible.
41 is coming to the board in this budget year,
So,
in the next 2 months.
so 41 doesn't mean it's the 41st truck that you bought.
It's engine 41, sorry.
So when that replaces another engine 41?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out, all right, because I used to think it was the 41st truck that you had and.
No, it replaces the current engine. 41.
Okay.
And the old one, what do we do with the old one?
That will go into reserve status and we'll sell our oldest apparatus, which is in reserve status.
How much do we usually get for those?
It depends on the apparatus itself.
Not a lot.
Not a lot.
Mm.
No, it could be a couple thousand. I don't want
And I get it.
to,
But it's better than storing it and maintaining it.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, we try to keep these apparatus for as long as possible. Some of these apparatus are 25 or 48 years old.
Okay, thank you, chief.
Thank you.
And next up, we have Chief Sandra DeRuza, the chief of the Village of Mamaroneck Police Department. Speak up, Tim.
I'm gonna talk about two as well. First one is a van that we use to transport defendants from Westchester County Jail. So the current vehicle we have is almost 20 years old. It's becoming unreliable. So we cannot have that safety concern for officers as well as the people that we transport. And that is not in the operating budget because it isn't something that is used 24 hours.
Right.
7 days a week. Yep.
Is that revenue, do we derive revenue from?
So we receive monies back from the county, because we do the transport ourselves versus the county doing the transport. Also, the other priority I would say would be our marine vessel, P21. So that as well is almost about 20 years old. That vessel, we have applied for grants the last 2 years. Fortunately, we did not receive funding the last 2 years. That boat used not only patrol the waterways of the harbor, but also outside of the harbor. We work with Coast Guard and other municipalities. So that would be a priority. I don't know if Jeff wants to add anything else to that.
And why we're adding.
So that's the primary patrol boat. So that boat really should be used and kept in the water, all year long. Because it's a fiberglass boat that we have now, we can't do that. So if we do, receive the grant, it'd be an aluminum boat, which can stay in the water all year. Should they give us access all year if something happens?
Excuse my ignorance, but why can't a fiberglass boat stay in the water?
Because if you do run into any ice, you can keep the ice away from the dock with ice machines, but if you start going out of the channel and you encounter ice, the ice will just punch it through the fiberglass.
Okay.
The aluminum will build it up in the front to split the ice so you can get out.
Okay, understand. Thank you.
So we are planning on applying for the grant again this year.
Mhm.
So we're hopeful that we'll possibly win that award.
Yeah, you forgot to say it breaks up the ice.
Hi. Hello. Jeff Hahn is the superintendent of our Parks Department. There's a long storied history his family has here in the village of Mamaroneck. And Mr. Hahn,
Good evening. If I would have to choose two of the projects I'd like to complete, the first one would be Harbor Island Playground. It's kind of 1.5 because I would kind of throw land of field renovation on there. Because what's happening now is land of field is pitching one way. So every time it rains, it floods out the playground. So I would hate to do one project and not the other. Because no offense in spending money on something that's not gonna fix drainage issues along with it.
so does the clay get into,
The clay gets into the 2 to 5-year-old playground section right now. And what happens is it compacts all the wood chips down and it makes the surface almost like cement. So that would be my number one priority. We win Best Westchester Park almost every year. I think the best park in Westchester should have the best playground.
The sheet says 12 years plus. Does anyone know what the actual age of that playground is?
Yeah. Yeah.
17, 18 years, I just put 12 years plus because you don't know what's gonna break. So it's kind of hard to say we're gonna get 18 years out of it. The only good thing is the company that I would like to work with is a new company, United States based. All their replacement parts still fit. And yeah, so we could probably get the most amount of years out of it.
So our current is 18 years. You want to try to get 12 years out of the new one. But why does that matter? To have the United States based.
So right now, the company that installed the playground that's there now is a Canadian-based company. What we're finding is we're having trouble getting replacement parts for that, and when we do find replacement parts for that, they get held in customs for months.
really?
Yeah, we waited almost 8 months for a slide replacement.
Oh, my God.
It's done.
Yeah, so we get held at customs because it's only a Canadian-based company.
Did they tell you they're sorry?
Sorry.
They don't really say about nice.
Yeah.
So your number one are Harbor Island and Lanza. You've looked at. And the second one is what?
The second one would probably have to be Florence Park renovations.
What about Salem Avenue?
Oh, what about,
Florence
yeah,
Park
Florence Park?
is a little more under the weather than Stanley Avenue at this point. We have poured rubber surface in Florence Park that's undermining and there's sinkholes on it.
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
And we have a lot of tennis is very important to people in this community and the
Sidewalks.
sidewalks and everything are being broken up by tree roots. And that includes the tennis courts, which are very popular. So we'd like to redo those for the community.
That's true.
And there's a lot of wasted space in Florence Park that I think that if we sat down and really thought about it, we could really make that park into something beautiful and bright.
Let's think about it then.
We're doing those stormwater improvements around Florence Park. Will that actually improve the park and in addition to residents bringing it?
Mhm.
No, that'll be something that will actually.
Okay, Okay,
So, because I want to make sure
gotta
that,
write that
that some
down.
of that stuff is included, but Jason, when you go, you should add the anticipated revenue we're trying to get from tennis courts when they're refurbished, so if you could, on Florence.
Jason, anybody got any questions?
No,
Thank you.
thank you
Thank
for
you.
everything you've done, you're doing.
Okay.
Jason, you're up, my friend. Jason Pinto, Mr. Pinto is the superintendent of recreation. Also comes from a family that is in the civil services. Dad is an important cog in the system at the town of Mamaroneck.
Grandfather worked for the county park,
There you go.
family thing. Hello, Mayor and Board. I have, for my top two items, I think, which might be a little different than my colleagues, is that some of what I do either reduces expenses or generates revenue. First being the multi-sport or community center or rec center, whatever we want to call it. It's been a significant investment, but I think that it will pay for itself in terms of the fees that we can generate and the revenue that we can generate. From the local sports leagues, from different community groups, from our own recreation programs, camps, you name it. You could do a lot out of there. And my second item would be the spray ground, which will do twofold. This will reduce our expenses. Right now, we have about a $40,000 water bill, it's fresh water. So we can work on the system to recycle that water. We will save money. And expanding it, which will obviously bring more attraction to the beach for customers and gives our youth, you know, an amazing facility.
I could just tell you though from experience, when I was on the Recreation Commission when the spray ground started. And then I was on Harbor Coastal Zone Management Commission. Well, it was just the Coastal Zone Management Commission then, when the spray ground got approved by the CZM. And the Westchester County Department of Health would not let us use chlorinated water. They made us do that.
Yeah, that's true. But we have been in discussions with the health department over the last few years. And with the technology available, it could be, we would have to prove to them that it could be done, but we vendors think we could do it.
Okay.
I think that, but obviously it requires plan and approval.
All right, I just wanted to share that with you.
I just, we spend an awful lot of time thinking about the environment in my department because natural resources are what keeps my business going. For us to flush all that fresh water down the drain, it's just environmentally not friendly and costs a whole lot of money.
It's hard to justify doubling it if we're gonna be
Yeah.
doubling,
I mean,
using more water, so.
$100,000 of water getting poured down the drain a year.
Yeah.
potentially makes me not feel well, so.
So if we can recycle
Yeah,
the
so
water.
we Try.
So we could potentially implement UV technology in
How are they refiltering?
You're gonna need you're gonna need a big storage facility.
that. Yep, we will need that, yeah.
And
What
I
would be the
think-
source, I'm sorry, what would be the source of the water then if you're gonna, is it, where does the water come from?
It would be portable water that we recycle.
Oh,
It's recycled water.
It's just your own waterworks water.
It's more like the way a swimming pool operates. You fill the pool and then you
Mhm.
keep that water and you keep cleaning that water.
Correct.
As opposed to draining the pool every night and filling it.
Right, literally it comes out and it goes into a drain, like your bath, it's like a shower. Pretty much like a shower. So I think between both mine and Jeff's plan, there are areas in here, including playground, where I have thought about how can we generate revenue, like Harbor Park can get a lot of press for birthday parties. So he's incorporating something in there that we can rent out to residents or whomever. Same with the bandstand, by spending $100,000 on a bandstand, we could pay for its bond and easily by renting it out. So that's my goal a lot in my capital plan is to try to, offset the cost. Interest of bonds, whatever. And get loan.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Pinto?
Would the bandstand be, I mean, I know this is like, 80,000 feet, but would the bandstand be similar in the same location and similar to the county stage? Or, I mean,
In size, yes, probably a little bit bigger because we get a large request for parties bigger than 50.
Right now, I have the pavilion deck that holds 50, that's about it, I can't do a 100-person party.
Mhm.
And we get a lot of them. So Jeff wants to be able to redo that bandstand where we can still do concerts and maybe not have to rent the county stage, but then we can also rent out as a covered area, day camp can use it. I mean, it'll be a lifesaver if we've had a covered area for 100
Yeah.
kids, because they don't, you know, so.
But what does the bandstand now carry? Maybe 30, 40 people?
maybe
Very
20,
small, right, very small.
It's very small. So
Would people be able to barbecue there? Or
that's
that
up
would be
to,
only
the
near,
board. Right now, we have a code where you can't grill in our parks, so if the board
But-
just,
in our parks, but you can grill on the pavilion.
you can grill on there, that's an exception. If you do deck and you use our grill with our safety, like you can, but if the board decides to change code, we certainly can allow that. It's just a,
Just so folks at home know, if you're a village resident, and you have a party for 50 folks, it's such a bargain.
Yeah.
It's just
It's a
a couple $100 and you get a really nice, the staff does a really nice job. It's a beautiful location. You know,
if
It's a
each
home-
access parking included for your guests, it's,
tried to convince my daughter to have a wedding.
you get a lot of right-of-way requests.
Yeah, no.
That's what I got.
Good luck.
Yeah, I'm just trying to focus on the amenities that our residents have. Which, one, it's great that we have them, but that we can generate revenue off some of these amenities if we choose to build them.
Okay.
So some of these items are on regarding increasing the size of the bandstand and those kinds of things would be the same way we approach it at the harbor master's office, where we do this work in-house. We wouldn't necessarily be contracted out. So the efficiency and the cost savings is significant. Because
So what we'd have to do is have somebody draw plans.
Yeah, that's what we get. We get plans drawn and approved by our building inspector, and we just go at it.
So as far as like a new bandstand.
Yeah.
I could call a company tomorrow and they could come out, do plans, and it's almost like an erector set. They'll ship us every nut, bolt, washer we need.
right.
And then we put it together. They would talk with our engineer and our building department, and once those plans get approved, they just ship us the pieces and we do the rest from there.
I'm sorry, it would be on footings.
Depending on how we want to build it, you could do it two separate ways. You could do a poured cement slab. And then when we want to rent it out as a stage, put a temporary stage in there. Or we can make it raised like it is now and go off footings.
And then because you'd have to take into consideration that it's in a flood zone.
Yes.
Okay.
Questions?
No, you guys are doing great. Next up is Kyle Troy. Ms. Troy is our naturalist. She runs the Marine Education Center, which if you haven't been down, you should go down when it's open. And especially if you have young children who are interested in the environment, it's a must do. Ms. Troy.
So I put something in for this year because things that I have put in the past, bigger tanks as well as interactive kind of technology for the tanks.
Yeah.
In terms of touch tanks, we have to fit program them. What I learned from that is my building I have now can't withstand technology. So I did have that in the capital plan from about 2 years ago. And then I also had the touch tank, the shark tank in there. And I have donors that actually donated to pay for that. So right now I kind of have nothing to bring. I'm just here to show.
Well-
Talk a little bit about the Friends of the Marine Education.
Yeah, so the Friends just became a nonprofit about 3 months ago, so they're a lot of, like, the floors I just got done, they were donated, and they're raising funds for an external building. It will actually give us more space for winter programming. In terms of like more birthday parties, more Girl Scout groups during the winter. So that's, again, all gonna be donated money. And then, yeah, so they're a nonprofit now, which is awesome. So
And if folks want to rent out the Marine Education Center, and your knowledge for birthday parties, that you've done that extensively and you're still doing that, right?
Yeah, it's not just birthday parties, Girl Scout groups,
Right.
Boy Scout groups, all types of groups that wanna come during the winter, but I don't have space to kind of facilitate them. So right now, the big project for my outside group is to get that outside building. It's not gonna be a tax, it's kind of gonna be an external. So, yeah, I don't have many cats.
Well, that's okay.
My
Nothing wrong with that.
building can't handle.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But, thank you.
Yeah.
Gino. I forgot your last name. What? Gino is our. Gino is our new village engineer. He's jumped in with both feet. If ever a community needed an engineer, it's the village of Mamaronek, especially a community that floods with the greatest regularity as we do. So we're happy to have you aboard, Gino. And could you please give us your two priorities and elaborate on some of the matters that Jerry threw you with.
Okay. As you stated, Mayor, we do flood, and 6 out of the 10 projects I have on the capital plan will primarily deal with flooding. So, 2 of my projects kind of go hand in hand, and they both go also hand in hand with the dredging. So I'm going to cheat. I'm going to give you both. So one of them is the Washingtonville drainage improvement. The Washingtonville area, if you take a look at the drainage path that we compete together, really don't have any stormwater infrastructure. So in conjunction with the drainage, with the dredging, the stormwater infrastructure will help increase the capacity of stormwater discharging in that area, and as well as deal with several illicit discharges that have been found. The flood mitigation study will also go hand in hand with that. The area that the board has requested have study done is primarily in the industrial and Washingtonville areas. So those kind of are going hand in hand. And the second project out of mine would be the Jefferson and Wood. Mayor, we spoke about that.
Yes.
Basically, it's just reestablishing or extending the stormwater infrastructure along Wood Street to help deal with the flooding that occurs along Harold and Grove and at the base of Wood Street.
Which, and I take every opportunity, which we're negatively impacted by the MTA water as well, right?
Correct. We have, we're taking water from the opposite side of the tracks and also the stormwater runoff from the backside of top of the ridge as it flows down that rock in the area.
Okay. Jerry, you asked him about other matters, right? And you said he was.
Yeah, an update on the roof.
Yeah.
And who we've been talking to, as well as Florence drainage and any potential benefit that we have for the park when we do that drainage.
So the transfer station, we have our structural engineer, Mike Macri, working on plans. We met with him, identified how we want the layout of the building. We have our site engineer, Kelly Session, aboard. And they just submitted architectural proposals and a proposal from a surveyor to lay out the site. So if all goes well, I'll be presenting those to the board for approval, and with the engineer's plans, construction is hopefully ready to start by the end of summer, fall of 2023. Make sure that the facility is covered and it doesn't stay outside for another week.
Good.
Lawrence Street is another project that is needs some stormwater infrastructure improvements. Some of the homes specifically is lack of catch basins on the street, and it's quite possible that the stormwater infrastructure is undersized for that area. can help with some drainage improvements on Florence. You know, we working with James at DPW, we've identified several manholes, right, James? There's a couple of manholes in the park that are connected to it.
I need to bury as well.
Yeah, buried, so that would all together improve some of the drainage on Florence Park.
So when it's look after a bad rain, and you walk around the track in Florence Park, and you can see the backyards of the folks, not on Florence Street, but on the far side. And Jensen, yeah, it's really like they have a swamp back there. So I think that there's probably a groundwater issue in that area too.
Well, the park was a swamp.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's reclaimed.
That's
Marshlands.
probably why, most of our parks at one time were swamp, because they couldn't build on them, so they said, oh, let's make a park out of it.
Mhm.
It worked for a while.
Yeah, well.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions, Gino?
No.
All right, the next up is Carolina Fonseca. Ms. Fonseca is the new Village of Mamaroneck building inspector, which is a vital job in any community, but especially in this community, it has a lot going on. It has a lot of varied housing and infrastructure, and there's always building going on, and there are always challenges that are presented. And Ms. Fonseca, like everybody here, has jumped in with both feet and is starting to have a real impact. Thank you, Carolina.
Thank you, Mayor Murphy. Thank you, Board of Trustees. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity. Is it working?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay, good. So I did come up with very modest applications for our capital improvement projects. And if I would have two priorities would be, I guess, safety. And then the cars. One of the priorities we had, and I guess that will jump on top of everything, but then Dan and I, we were talking about how we have a project to redo the entire village hall and have everything under the same roof. So that wouldn't be the priority anymore, because the other one we were talking about is how building department has part of the department here at 169 Mount Pleasant, and the other department is in Halsted.
650 also.
Exactly. So apparently that will be taken care of once we do everything we just see. But priority, let's say number one, our security with more card readers, cameras, panic blocking, so that the staff feels safer, and also every documentation can be well set and would be well taken care of. Unfortunately, we don't have the friends of the building department. Kyle has, so that's why I'm applying for the capital improvement project. And as Jerry said in the beginning, will be from his 60 now, we still might be able to have everything taken care of at some point. So that was number one. And then our talk. And we are with the chief, once she's got so taking care of that would be interesting as well. I hope it doesn't take 700 days.
No, it won't.
We'll have new cars,
Here.
like he was saying. But that's one of the items. Right now, we're rotating some of the cars, so we will move.
What kind of cars are you looking to get?
Something that is safe. Right now, we have very, very bad.
Definitely all-wheel drive.
And Tommy, you can help me answering that.
Yeah.
Something that drives.
We definitely need something all-wheel drive. Obviously, we're going to different job sites, different locations. We're out there forms, whatever we can do. So we need something all-wheel drive.
What are you driving now? I mean,
My
what,
chief's car.
what?
My chief's car.
No, I mean,
If you weren't driving your chief car, what would
We
you?
really don't have anything. We really don't have much.
So currently, there are 3 2007 vehicles assigned to building. I think 2 of them are not working.
Yeah, we don't want.
Then we have an 11, a 14, 15, and the newest is a 2017 hybrid that we're driving, correct?
Correct, that's the newest one, about 6 years old. But as Tommy said, 4-wheel drive will help if you go or
Weather.
yes.
hazard a guess that the 2015 equinox, which I was able to return back to the, maybe the best week of the happen.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then if you allow me some time to talk about the other project, which is the building.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know it's number 3 in the.
No, go ahead,
priority
go ahead.
because We'll do everything under the same roof at some point. But right now, part of our historical files or documents that we store are in our attic. The attic in this building is non-conducting space. We don't have temperature control or humidity control, and that can permanently damage these files, which is not good for anybody. So maybe as per the plans that we saw, there is a way that we can start this project by already taking care of our roof in this building, and then we can probably organize these current files that we have. I'm sure some of you experience going to the attic right now, and it's absolutely not acceptable the way we find this document. So it would be, I know it's not a priority like the fire department's on safety, but it's the safety of this documentation. There are.
Is the roof leaking? No, not at this point, right?
Windows, but on the roof. We had someone come in and look at the roof, there was no signs of leaking. So up top, there's the little bird cage, little, I forgot what it's called. Oh. So up on the roof is the little bird cage, the centerpiece of the roof. There's windows in there that leak, but the roof itself, the slate tiles, isn't leaking.
Well, that's at least for now the only good news I've heard about this building. So
Well,
we can keep
except,
the roof and change everything else.
but when we got the proposal from the architects, it was much less expensive to keep the shell of this building and to work within it. So it would seem like fixing that atrium window would,
And just go along.
yeah, and it's not like the attic, I mean, I don't think there was any proposal to use the attic for anything other than storage, so maybe it's something that could be done before the bigger project.
Windows can be done, anything that helps improve the envelope of this.
But
building.
like any attic, I'm sure it gets hotter than heck up there.
It does, it would definitely need temperature control up there.
It's hard to air condition in an old attic.
Yeah.
There needs a fine, which goes to the point.
The ability to use mini split systems now. But first step would be to replace windows up there to really seal it up.
But to go back to Nora's point, the plan was not to be, we won't have to use the attic because all the files will be stored in one place, which is not gonna be the attic, correct?
We were dedicating basement storage
Mhm.
for that.
In basement, so it ain't gonna be the attic.
No, but the basement's quite full right now.
I think
It's
Mr.
for
Costa
only
wants to say
still-
something.
We have other documents that are in the attic
Yeah.
right now,
Mhm.
not properly stored.
Right. So we're the right now.
We're in
Okay.
danger of losing.
Right now.
Some of the files, I think they belong to the police or court
Mhm.
department as well.
Mhm.
So that would probably be relocated to another place in order to keep everything from the building department in there.
Got it.
So that would be necessary.
The right now.
Yeah.
Could we transfer these documents to electronic files?
So currently, part of the documentation is available digitally, but we still need a tracing record of that in paper legally.
Right. So you wouldn't have to store it somewhere you need to access it readily. You could store it somewhere else that is safer. And you wouldn't have to go up there and access it normally if it was electronic, correct?
Yes, we do have that right now. Victor runs part of that archival. And it's not only building department, planning board and all the boards, but you have also the paperwork from the village in general. And it's in the same basement, but in another room, separate room. And also part of what that entails is the logistics. Every time the building department, 169 Mount Pleasant requires something, needs to come here in a car and then comes upstairs without elevator. So it delays things. It's not as fast as it should be if we had it upstairs. Could be just in and out, and unfortunately, it's not like that.
So operationally, we have a full-time office assistant that's dedicated to the movement of records, the pulling of records, and the storage of records. as well as a vehicle for that individual. So it's a costly operation because we're at a, because we're at Carvel Plaza, basically. It's a
Yeah.
costly operation.
The folks watching at home. The building that we're in now, 169 Mount Pleasant Avenue. It's called Mount Pleasant Avenue, but it faces to Prospect Avenue. Was originally built not for municipal function. It was built as a home for I don't know how to put this delicately.
It was a residential structure.
Yeah.
That's enough, right?
Young ladies who had
Yes.
gotten in trouble
Young men, that's residential.
at the turn of the century, right? So, I mean, I think that's what's happened in the village of Mamaroneck a lot, is that we tried to repurpose buildings that weren't built for that purpose. So in this building that was built for a vastly different purpose, we have the building department, we have the police department working in a situation that's very archaic. And in a lot of ways, you'd never have a police department laid out the way we have our police department laid out. And we have the courts and the court staff and the court paperwork all in this building too. And as Ms. Fonseca pointed out, there is no elevator in this building. It's a 3-story building. So that when we have people who are disabled, it's very difficult for them to access services. And if they need help, one of our employees has to come down. So there's nothing about this that is optimum. Matter of fact, it's the opposite of optimum. But your point is well taken. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now, the next up is the village manager's office. You have
I'll take the number one priority and Mr. Sono will give you the number 2 priority.
Okay.
The number one priority here is on the manager's office. Has to be pedestrian safety improvements has to be the number one priority. Because we are a community that does not bus their children to school. They are on bicycles, they are walking, and there's a lot of kids that go to school. This is not a small community, similar to the Rhinebeck district, large areas of this community have a significant number of kids that have to make their way to school in all sorts of conditions. And pedestrian safety has to be number one. It has to be prioritized, in my opinion, and of course it's up to the board, but it has to be prioritized based on our most vulnerable population and the people who, to put it mildly, are distracted when they're walking. And that is a big deal, because we all know that you can easily be a distracted driver, but you can also be a distracted pedestrian. And that's a serious and unfortunate, dangerous combination. So that's
and I agree with that 100%.
yeah, that's my number one regarding these aspects. Which one we do first is immaterial. As long as we're doing them, it doesn't matter. We just need to do that.
Mr. Sonoff.
I was doing generous, but you don't know me.
No, we're a team.
This building.
Oh,
This
thank you.
beautiful 19th century former dormitory, which was acquired by the village during the latter parts of the Great Depression, and was unsuitable for office space back then, and has become less suitable in the ensuing 80 years.
Keep
I
us
think you've heard from Jerry, you heard from Carolina. I think everyone has a story to tell about this structure. The site does provide a lot of opportunity. It is a much larger site than most people realize, with between that land we own all the way back to the other side of Johnson Lot and Johnson Avenue. So it's a significant piece of property that does offer a lot of potential. And it's having one central location for residents to come to, so they don't have to ferry between, building, this building and Regatta,
Yeah.
and then get confused and somehow wind up at the town hall.
Mhm.
and then come back here. It's, the recreation department. So it's, it would be a great benefit for, our ability to manage the organization, but a great benefit for the residents to be able to come to one location and take care of all the various municipal services they need to access.
It was accessible location.
An accessible location.
Said the architect. So one thing, before we continue our discussion is that this plan in front of you, includes approximately $17 million in state and federal grant money that either we've received or anticipate. I'm going to put out a directive, once this plan is approved, to our grant writers as well as Mr. Sonoff to try to double that within the next 5 years. There's a
Can
lot
you
of money
just-
out there.
Could you just delineate what those grants off the top of your head?
No. Sure, I can.
We received $4 million approximately from New York State under Transportation Alternatives Program, which we would put towards the Halsted Avenue project. We have FEMA reimbursements coming in for the Tompkins Avenue Bridge, which is a significant item that's in the capital budget. Other grants include CDBG grants that we've received for multiple phases of improvements around Mamaroneck Avenue
Community
School.
block development grants.
Yeah, community development block grants. And the new cycle will open up again, I think, next year to start receiving applications, so. We'll talk to the board at some point, probably in, May or June of 2024 about CDBG.
Some mayors that we have in this plan include the ARPA money that we received from the federal government. And then there's two large chunks of about $1 million combined for some engineering work. The damage that we've incurred that has significantly devastated the Wood and Jefferson area was caused by Ida. And then we have damage that we incurred on our storm drainage system on Ralph and Gertrude, which are significant. And so those are projects that are on the FEMA list. And as we continue to work on them, we will continue to receive reimbursements.
And I just want to point out, Dan Sonoff talked about the Halsted Avenue improvements that are coming in the future. So a lot of people have asked me about Halsted Avenue. If you look now, the village paved the driving area of Halsted Avenue because frankly, we couldn't have gotten through another winter with the surface that was there. So we did that in anticipation of a stopgap measure, but also just, to make sure it was safe, it was drivable, and we weren't, killing too many people's tires. We did that on a stopgap basis because we have this big project coming up on Halsted Avenue. That's going to really change a lot of it. We're going to put bump outs to make pedestrian crossing safer. Halsted Avenue is built upon an old trolley line. And the trolley line, they just paved over it and they left it there. So it settles unevenly all the time. And it causes a lot of, probably, I can't even imagine when they got rid of the trolleys. I would imagine it would be the 30s. So it's been buried there for almost 100 years. And, now we're going to take it out and do the whole thing over.
If anyone has the occasion to walk sections of Halsted Avenue, we have sections of Halsted Avenue that have no sidewalks. We have sections of Halsted Avenue that have sidewalks that, probably have been there for 60, 70 years. Right. And so creating a main artery or improving a main artery to create more pedestrian friendly, enhancements really is a big deal for this community.
And we're talking all the way from the train station all the way to Harrison. The whole
Train station to Harrison Line.
The entire link.
Yeah, it's just under a mile.
When we were doing the Vision Zero, the first area we walked, when Shannon Purdy was leading it, was Halsted Avenue.
Yeah.
And so that was 2018. So we've known for a while that this area needs special attention, and I applaud you for getting the grant for this. And it's gonna make a lot of difference in a lot of people's lives, because we all use Halsted Avenue. And it's a main thoroughfare for a lot of the kids going to school in Rhinebeck.
That's, it's interesting what, some of the history out there and some of the things that are preventing us from really improving the situation right now. One department head left, Mr. Mayor. The person to you on your left.
Oh, my goodness.
Most quiet
My
person
good
of us
friend,
all.
boon companion, and faithful member of this community. Mr. Augustino Fusco is our clerk treasurer. Augustino is also a resident. Augustino is also a volunteer firefighter in our community. So he wears a lot of hats, aside from being a dad and a good husband, and an excellent Village of Mamaroneck employee.
Chief, is he interior certified?
He's the man.
See that?
He's interior certified.
And he did tell me that he was hoping that the board would ask him many tough questions.
And I know that because he's a rock. Go ahead, buddy.
Thank you, Mayor.
So I only have two items. As you're well aware, for our records, we need to maintain them for the period of the retention period. Some are a few years and some are permanent records. We're currently reaching capacity at our facilities offsite. The first item would be a rolling shelf system for that facility. What that allows us to do is double our storage space.
Like you see in libraries.
Yes.
Yeah.
It allows us to double our space. We're gonna try to have 90% of this funded through a LGRIMF grant. And hopefully that pans through if the board agrees to it. And the second item is network storage. We back up currently to Amazon servers and we back up locally. Our local backups are mirrored. And keep in mind, when I say backup storage, that's for every department. That's also our records facility is every department that we have. Building is separate because they have their own permanent records, which is too voluminous.
Just explain the term unit in that context.
So our IX system backup networks, what they do is they copy each other. So if one facility failed, we have a complete copy at a different facility. On each system, we have not only data backups, but we have also images taken of every system. What does that mean for us is that if something goes down, so Amazon service is great, but if we have a massive error where something gets destroyed, it takes weeks to months to restore from Amazon. Local backups are great, especially an image file. We could throw up a virtual machine 45 minutes and have a whole system back up in 2 hours.
I don't see a number attached to that.
We still have to get pricing on that. It's about 30K.
Okay.
So, well, if I could, LGRIMF grants are local government records management improvement fund grant. So that doesn't help me, but I just wanted to let people know what that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
It used to be a much simpler. Ceremony. But then the state bureaucrats decided to just make it a little more interesting for us.
So, when we apply for or Dan, when we apply for those, you apply for them through just as a typical state grant opportunity, or you have to
Yes,
show need, you have to demo?
you do have to show need and you do apply for them through the regular process. I would be applying for both my facility and the building department facility.
Oh, Village Hall and the,
And building department facilities, a lot of them are permanent records. They can't be destroyed.
that's right, okay.
So hopefully if we get the funding, both storage units will be doubled.
Well, I think we can definitely demonstrate the need, that's for sure.
And the
Yeah.
beauty of the rolling shelves, they could be transferred to other facilities if needed.
So when we have a different facility, you can still use them.
If and when, yes. That is all, Mayor.
Thank you, Augie. Jerry, you want to continue?
So there isn't much, as far as, continuing this evening to describe, the budget. The document is available for residents to review. Questions that were asked by trustees will be available for the public to review. Obviously, people can ask questions, but what I would ask staff is that, or in the public, is that all questions are funneled through me on this capital plan. This way I can have a conversation either by email or by phone with the department head to get the board, if they have continued, if they have more questions, or the public if they have more questions. So that's really what I would be asking. That's the most efficient way of doing it. And probably the most responsive way of doing it.
So what do you need from us tonight?
So what would be great is to move this item off the work session to a regular session where some additional information could be provided that Nora is asking for. In reality, because of our bond rating increase, we are at somewhere around 3 to 3.5% when we go out for funding. And that equates to about $85,000 to $90,000 per million when we pay back principal and interest. So some of those numbers, which we need to keep fresh and in our mind when we're doing budgeting, we will keep relevant. But what we would ask is that the board moves this item to a regular work session. A regular meeting to approve the plan as we presented it so that our department heads can continue to work on these projects based on the priorities that they've expressed, as well as some of the priorities that would come from the board as you continue to digest this stuff.
Okay, I just want to point out that Jerry used the term bond rating increase. And what that means is that it will be an interest rate decrease. So it's an inverse proportion, so nobody misconstrues. What it means is that we're more creditworthy.
Right, so a typical creditworthy individual could get a car for between 6.5% and 8.5% right now to get a car loan. We would be borrowing money between 3 and 3.5%, maybe a little bit more than 3.5%. So there's a significant difference in municipal financing as opposed to what most people are exposed to.
Thank you for that.
Sure.
Well, I think that this would be,
Well,
You have a question?
I just have, there's two things that occurred to me today. And we don't have the Army Corps plan in here, and that's certainly a capital expense that's gonna kick in incrementally, right? I mean, when do we put our?
Our Army Corps commitment, Nora, would be in our operating budget, because they're asking us to commit to regular annual maintenance after they're completed.
Right,
So that's going to the operating.
but even the percentage, even our share of the Army Corps.
we don't
plan?
have a share.
Well, right, so we're not,
So our share is being.
it's definitely, that's
Yeah.
not reversible, that's absolutely the case, okay.
Yeah.
And we don't have any paving in this, except for Hallstead Avenue.
We don't have paving, so paving, we're gonna try to do, we'll try to do paving. We don't have a paving plan. We could add a paving plan to this.
Mhm.
But typically what I'd wanna do is utilize all the money that's left over from our CHIPS grants and those grants that we get from the feds. And then add a $500,000 paving project annually, now that we have an engineer that can manage that.
And then.
And that was part of our operating budget,
Yes,
not a
because
capital
that was my
budget.
next question.
Right. That'll be part of that.
Do we have a paving machine?
No,
Large
we
enough?
hired. We hired.
No, we hire.
But there had been no paving done for a long time.
2019.
So the way we did
Could have
paving
tried.
last year was to get Con Ed to do paving.
Yes.
We've been doing paving, we just haven't been.
No, just saying, prior to 2019.
Prior to 2019, I'm not sure, but I did a giant we did a giant.
Yes.
We did
Yeah.
like a
Giant.
$4 million job.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
Right.
And also now, when the Westchester General Waterworks opens up a street, they pave the whole street.
Right,
They used to just pave where they opened up. Now they go curb to curb.
right. And there may be a request from the manager's office to the Board of Trustees at one point that if someone does cut into our roads, that they may have to in the future
Do
do
curb to
full
curb.
width paving, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I've done that in other municipalities, and it's popular with the board, but it's not popular with the utility companies.
What are you gonna do? They're not popular with me either. So. So is the board okay with moving this to a regular?
Well, the one question, Jeff was kind enough to respond to my question about the solar panels on roofs. I mean, my feeling, and I don't know how the rest of the board feels, is that we shouldn't do any roof ever without putting solar panels on them. And that undoubtedly will change the cost estimate, although it generates revenue on the other end.
And it'll benefit our operating budget.
Sure, so I guess those numbers should be adjusted when we for the roofing requests. I
How
mean,
will we know how much
Well,
the solar
that's,
panels
I
cost?
don't know.
I think I think when we're actually doing a roofing project, that's the time to introduce it. The numbers here
Yeah.
that we're getting are guesstimate.
Okay,
Yeah, we don't have,
They also could change
So
if we
if
don't.
there's a policy from the board, that is.
but I agree with you about the.
yeah, I mean, I would just like to make it a policy that we don't do roofs unless they have a solar panel on
Yeah.
it, period.
It doesn't have to
If the
do with
roof can
this.
accommodate solar
Yeah, and
panels.
unless there's a reason not to put solar panels on it.
Couldn't.
Yeah.
If that's a directive from the board, Lou, in the form of a resolution, to the extent possible that we put solar panels up.
Sure.
Every roof that we do, including the Harbor Masters roof, which has to
Yes.
get replaced. To the extent possible that they can accommodate the panels, we would put the panel there.
Yeah, so I bring it up now only because it adjusts the number up front and then that's it. So, and Jeff had mentioned 3 different ways we could do it. And one is that it just deals with that building. One is that we sell it to the utility. I mean, you could tell us what.
So there's 3 main options with solar panels. So you could lease the solar panels from companies, which basically it's an 80-20 split. So you're always gonna have 20% that goes to Con Ed. Because no matter what you do, you still have to pay the delivery fee and the service charge.
Mhm.
That's a given. So it basically works, you're saving 80% of your electrical bill. Now, depending on whether you lease them, you finance them, or you have battery storage, either you pay the solar company, they sell the power back to Con Ed, you get that 80% credit. Or if you finance the panels, what happens is Con Ed gives you a credit monthly. So that credit is reoccurring, like, think of it like cell phone minutes. If you don't use all 100 cell phone minutes, you only use 50, next month you have 150 minutes. Following month, you have 250 minutes. So when the solar panels aren't creating enough solar energy, for example, like in winter months, Con Ed will actually put that credit towards your account that you occurred with them throughout the summer months.
And I like that because it's a revenue generating activity. That'll pay for the project and continue to give down the road. And that's why I would like the board to make that as a policy, but it's.
No, I mean, I think it should be on a work session to make it.
Okay, all right.
It's good for the
I
environment.
think it's
A
good.
lot of these solar companies will not put their panels on old roofs and stuff. So a lot of these solar companies will actually come in and say, we want your roof to put a solar panel on. We're gonna replace the roof for you. Or we'll replace the roof joists for you, or your shingles are on the back 9, we're gonna reshingle your whole roof. We're gonna update your electrical system.
Yeah.
They will actually come in and their engineers will do a site plan on the building you're putting solar panels on. And they will determine that sometimes it's to their best interest to fix that stuff themselves before they put the panels on. So that's all included in the price of the panels.
I'm open to any suggestion on this and any one of these configurations, but my impulse is for us to do it, or to us generate the power municipally.
So just introduce and hash out the policy and we'll execute it.
Yeah.
No
Let's
problem.
put it on a work session.
Okay.
No problem.
I think
I would
it's a
like
great
to
idea.
add a piece of curiosity to that. So New York State is really going with all capacity, making sure that we're doing energy conservation. And one of the requirements of our 2020 energy conservation code is that roofs, once you touch a roof, you have to make sure that it's insulated. So in a situation like that, like you were saying, if you have solar panels, chances are that we are going to be required to make those roofs insulated as well, which is good because then will help the residents or commercial space should be more energy efficient.
Yeah, that's,
But I just wanna, I think they're talking about village-owned municipal buildings, not necessarily further, but that doesn't mean that you couldn't discuss it further.
Yeah, just curiosity.
Yeah.
yeah, no, I'm all in on that.
Yeah.
And I had, well, I don't want to get into new projects, but there are other things that I had in mind that aren't on this list, but
Well,
that's another.
I'll see you in 10 years.
But I,
Well, I mean, Taylor, I'm sorry.
no, well, I think that, you're gonna say Taylor's Lane, you started saying it.
Yes.
We don't, that hasn't been released to us yet. This isn't set in stone.
Okay.
No.
And I think, for me, it's an awful lot of money. It's more than we've been spending annually in capital projects. So I think, my question was, how is this going to affect, taxes down the road? We got some, clarity of priorities from staff. I do think we have to rank this because I think in some respects, this is still a wish list. I mean, there are a lot of, and we're at, there's consent decree. I mean, the I&I repair isn't on this. The consent decree is important. I know that's partially grant funded, but it's, legal obligations, health and safety, wants are probably the bottom.
So
And so,
anything nor sewer related and road repair related to those sewer projects will have to come out of the rent, and, the rents, I get that. We adjust that annually to make sure that we're covering those costs. It's maybe it should be in this plan. The reality is there's no choice in that regard.
Right.
For that item, that's one of those things that whether we want to or not. It has to
right,
happen.
but that I think is the first priority for capital projects. And, regardless of whether the sewer fund's paying it back or the library fund's paying it back, it's our bonding. It's the village's obligation to bond it, right? We don't, it's our bonding capability that allows those things to happen. So
It is. I'm not concerned about the bond people. I am concerned about, as you are, I think the rents and making sure that they're appropriate for people to be able to afford. But when it comes to that kind of stuff, it's hard to negotiate what has to be done.
maybe not our bonding capability, because we are capable of bonding substantially more money than we could possibly pay back. So it's like maxing out our credit cards, but it's the bonding responsibility. And it's, again, do we have the capacity to manage all those projects?
Now, so the 85-90,000 per million is really for items that we don't have revenue sources for. But what, like Jason was saying, we have revenue sources for. So when we give you an analysis of what the revenue potentially will be for that project that we fund or that we bond over 30 years, you'll have that revenue analysis as well. So when it comes to sewer rents, that's, in my opinion, revenue. It's not necessarily tax, but there are many items here that will never generate revenue. So those are the ones that I think we have to worry about the most.
I just want to point out what I said at the beginning of this, is that, yes, we're spending a certain amount of money now on capital projects per year. And is it gonna go up? Yeah, it's gonna go up. It either goes up or we just continue with the rot. And I don't think this community, nobody wants to pay more taxes. That's a given, right? But when you present people with the fact that, if you're not going to be paying more taxes, you have to accept that this is going to be a crumbling community. And that will affect your property values. And that will affect the services that you receive. And that will affect how this place is perceived.
We'll have to shut places down. We'll have
Yes.
to shut buildings, facilities down.
We are living off the infrastructure that was built by Franklin Delano Roosevelt in the 1930s. And, God bless him for building it, but we have to step up.
And Mayor, if I could, my directive to our grant writers and to sign off to double the 17 million that we have in grant funding here. In large part is going to be that we have an extremely detailed capital plan that is approved by the Board of Trustees. That's gonna score us very high in those applications. And so that's why I'm pretty comfortable at that type of goal, to be able to achieve that type of goal.
And the other thing I wanted to bring up is that we talk about the village project, village hall project. as a single thing. Is it, and it seems to me it's got two parts to it. One part, the police station part, got to get done yesterday. I mean, that's just a disgrace.
That's the majority of our
Yeah,
projects.
yeah, I mean, well, I mean, but the police, I'm just, we need a new police stations, all right? The rest of it, maybe not so urgent.
You're talking about phasing.
Yeah. So so there's that thought also, and when I want go through here, if it has to do with flooding and stormwater, it needs to get done.
Yeah.
Period.
I'm sorry, the whole thing needs to get done at this point. It's like, this is to go back and forth of, if we wait, then we've been waiting. And this doesn't make, personally, this.
But you can only do one.
But
thing.
but I also believe that, I mean, pardon my lateness, sorry. But when I came in, you were talking about there are things that we will prioritize throughout the years, and hopefully if one of our vehicles lasts longer than, just God willing, lasts longer than it should have, then we go by that. But at the end of the day, it just seems from every single department, all of our stuff is failing.
And we do have we have a fully staffed and very capable mechanic repair shop with a foreman and right mentor. So they keep us rolling, they keep our equipment. That's the only reason why we have equipment as old as we do still rolling on those streets. The one last thing that I want to say is, when Gino first got here, I told Gino that he's going to take on everything that I've taken on in the last 18 months or since Hernani left. And I loaded him up with projects. We have the capacity, because of the talent that we have on staff, to be able to do a lot of things
In-house.
not necessarily all at once, but once we're done with the seawall repair, we're moving on to the next thing, which has just completed with our contract of the seawall repair. Once we finish certain items, we're moving on to the next thing. We do have the capacity and we do have the staff and the talent to be able to do that. So I want to make sure.
To add to the point you just presented.
Yeah.
One of the first emails I received last week was from James Barney, addressing the capability of our fleet in the building department. You want to say something about it, James?
Just the building department in general has been so understaffed in the past that the vehicles were not being driven at all. There was vehicles that the first time they were being started was when we were going to pick it up because it was due for a 6-month service and it hadn't been driven.
But I was sitting there for 6 months.
Well, yeah, in theory, it's just they're sitting, some of them have been sitting for so long, or they were never written up because staff either moved on to a different employer. It just never. So we constantly are getting calls to jumpstart building department vehicles almost every day.
Wow.
And it comes to the point of how much money do you want to throw into a 2007 vehicle?
Yeah.
It doesn't, at some point, it becomes not making sense.
Yeah.
Nothing to that.
That's a good illustration.
Talk about capital budgets, and we talked, one of the items that was brought up. Raising of the village's bond rating. One of the main factors that goes into the analysis of the bond rating companies is the willingness of the elected officials to meet the community's ongoing capital needs. So I think that's something to keep in mind reference right now.
I have one other question. There's been a lot of discussion about what should be in a capital budget, what should be in an operating budget, whether a vehicle, because you're going to replace them on a regular basis, should be in the operating budget, capital budget. And I think that as we're going into budget cycle, do we have a definition of, minimum year, minimum amount of money? That might be something that we should be explaining to the public.
As far as vehicles go?
No, just in general, why is it capital and why is it operating? Like that should just be like budget 101. That might be something we should explain at our.
Yeah, capital has a clear definition. All you can tell you, it's anything that's cost more than $5,000 and has a useful life of what? Of a certain number of years.
Operating items that's spent every year. capital items is, one shots that have a period of life of greater than 5 years.
Hmm.
So that you capitalize anything over 5,000,
You're saying 5
I
years.
think 5 years or greater.
I just think that's a definition that we should be,
Yeah, we can
that we
provide
should
that.
clarify.
Okay, is there a consensus among the board to move this to a regular meeting of February 13th?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, yeah, me too.
Everybody.
Can we add the priorities though? Can we fill in the pink columns now that we've got some priorities?
Yeah, we can add the ones and twos from the department.
Mhm.
We'll add that, and then if you want me to prioritize it, I'll dust off the old one to show you
Yeah, 'cause
how it came up.
I mean, we have criteria that we adopted.
Yeah, there's a process that the comptroller's office wants us to follow,
Yeah.
so that I can provide some priorities based on my understanding, everyone's understanding. Sure, I can do that for the next meeting.
Great.
Thanks.
All right. I want to thank all of you. I mean, I'm seriously, you are a dynamic, a hardworking, and an efficient group. You know, I've been doing this a long time, and some would say too long, but you get stuff done. From none of you do I ever hear no. A lot of times in government, there's a mindset of people are very good at explaining to you why something can't get done. And they're adept at that, and that's their strong point. But you folks do not have those characteristics. You folks get stuff done, you improvise, and you've made this a better community in the past 5 years, all of you. And I really appreciate everything that you do for this community. And you know, as somebody who has raised children here and is now raising grandchildren here, I'm not raising, I'm visiting grandchildren here.
Spoiling grandchildren.
It is refreshing, and it's nice to know that, you know, that since a lot of you are going to be around here for a long time, that legacy is going to continue on for a long time. And you know, train the people who come in behind you to work with the same attitude that you all have, and we'll be good. You know, it's all about, you guys at one point were the farm team, and now you're the leaders. And the next step is to teach the next farm team to care as much as you do, to work as hard as you do. And this village will be in good shape, no matter who sits up here. And I just want to thank you all, and this community should know that you folks really have turned this place around under Jerry's leadership. And you're a fantastic crew, and you make my job much easier, and I really appreciate that. Our job.
So, Mayor, I'm sorry, but I was remiss in introducing the new Assistant General Foreman for the DPW, and that's Pablo Ruiz. Everyone knows Mark Ferraro. Pablo is now the new Mark Ferraro.
And yeah, I echo what the mayor said. I mean, we hear you, and we're going to do everything we can to give you what you need.
So thank you all for taking this time out of your busy lives. I'd like a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Shut up.
The engineer every project. What, twice? Two berries.
I was just like, I don't. Now, on my computer, so I was able to just do that. Text me and I'm not.
Well, I usually.
In this has to do your reactions.